this Georgia matchup. So before we get necessarily to that, what leads to the Georgia matchup is obviously the seeding situation, of which a lot of people are just brushing off. Hey, you got to win 2 games regardless of. I always love that comment. You got to win 2 games. We know what the format is, but okay, are you going to play UTEP and South
Right.
Missouri State? Are you going to play Alabama and Clemson? The first 2, that's it's a ridiculous comment. Okay, yeah, we understand you got to win 2 games.
And it's also, I mean, I'd rather at the end of the year be able to say that we played in the national championship game rather than just got to the college football playoff. So it does matter who you play and how you can get there.
And I think it also matters not just the probability of you winning to get to the championship game, but also the probability of you winning the championship game based on the wear and tear of going
Right.
through a great opponent versus, sure, everybody in the college football playoffs good, but I do think that there's a difference there. Therefore, a lot of people are making a big deal of the seeding. Can't do anything about it now. It's all said and done. I personally think that there's an argument and debate that can be made for each side. I don't think it's cut and dry. I'm not here pounding my fist, going crazy, ranting about how Michigan got ripped off. But at the same time, I do think that they had a valid claim for number one.
Well, and that was my most frustrating thing was the committee coming out and saying it was a unanimous decision and that there really wasn't much discussion about it. I was like, hold on a second. There definitely should be a discussion because you have to look at, I think if you looked at what happened last weekend as one singular moment, then yes, Alabama looks like the best team in the country. But we're looking at a full season, right, Mark? That's what frustrated me. And it wasn't like Michigan struggled, in their championship game either. And like we said, that maybe not, that's not a top 4 team like Georgia is that they beat, but it's still a top 20 team and a pretty dang good team that they handled. I mean, you can't handle them much more than they could. So for it to be just this unanimous decision, I thought was a lot of BS coming from the committee. But I think all in all, yes, you could go either way and have a pretty good argument for either way. But I think that, for Alabama, if you were to say this the week prior with how they played against Auburn, you'd say, I'm not even sure if they're in the top 4, let alone number 1. And then all of a sudden they obviously played well in that game. And now they're the definitive number 1. I just don't get it when you have to take so much into account, but they're seemingly looking at 1 or 2 games, in specific.
Georgia's quite a bit better than Iowa, but the Michigan win was much more emphatic. Alabama looked impressive to win that game as they did. That's impressive, but the game was in doubt until 10 or 12 minutes left in the fourth quarter. So it wasn't like they went out there and it was 28-0 and then they just dominated from start to finish. It was a competitive game for most of the way. They were clearly the better team. So I get the better win, but it wasn't as dominant as Michigan. Had Michigan beaten Iowa by a touchdown, I would have clearly understood the number 1. And it's, again, not that I'm saying Alabama's not number 1, but to your point that it just seemed to be this unanimous,
Right.
we didn't even really have to debate it, was a bit ridiculous because Michigan's got a better loss. Michigan also, especially considering what's been discovered about the officiating in that game. And then if you take into consideration, Michigan's just been a more complete and consistent team, especially during the back stretch of the season where Alabama's got a litany of close calls. So now you're going to have to get through Georgia and most likely Alabama.
Yeah, now you're playing, I mean, probably what most people would really call the top 2 teams in the country, or outside of Michigan, to win the Natty title. So if Michigan is able to do it, now I'm not saying that I predict them to win the national title. If they were able to do it, is that maybe the most impressive national title run that you would have seen, to go beat number 2 Ohio State, kick the crap out of Iowa, and then beat those 2 teams, Georgia and Alabama? That would be a hell of a run.
Yeah, I'm not coming up with a better one off the top of my head. Ohio State had a great one in 2014, but you're including the Ohio State win at the end of the regular season. I'm just
Right.
looking at the Big Ten title game and the playoff game. So you tack on the Ohio State win, which you look at any power ranking, and they're still a top 4 team in the country if you
Right.
really want to look at the all the metrics all the way through. And that's quite a killer run right there that Michigan's navigating right now.
Yeah, so that's where I think most fans are frustrated. It's like, Michigan, you finally get to this college football playoff, and then they put the two giants up against you. That hey, here's your college football playoff. Enjoy, But I also think that's what it is in being in the college football playoff. It's the top 4 teams in the country. You got to be the best, you got to beat the best. So I don't think you can go into the college football playoff and just automatically think you can get a team like Cincinnati. And here's the thing, Cincinnati, I think they're still pretty dang good. I don't think they're a bad football team. Do I think that they're talent wise better or just as good as Alabama and Georgia? Probably not, but they're pretty well coached and they could surprise some people. Now, I would also say here's the thing, the college football playoff is a TV show. Everyone knows that, right? It's for entertainment, it's for ratings, it's for that. So I'm pretty sure even if they put Michigan at 1, they would have put Cincinnati at 3 and Georgia at 4 so that they could have an SEC championship in the end of it. That it wouldn't have mattered in my head. They had it all. They want the best rankings and all that stuff. But I also think they want a chance at a Michigan Alabama national championship because I believe those ratings would be probably the best ratings of any championship that has been played.
Yeah, that's been an issue with the college football playoff has been regionalization, which has fragmented the rating. And when it's too Southern centric, which it's typically been, then the result has been disappointing TV ratings. And so Alabama, Georgia may or may not be the best teams in the country. I happen to believe that they probably are, but I wouldn't be surprised if I'm proven wrong by Michigan. They would be the one team right there, obviously. But in terms of, yes, providing the best national TV rating, I think that's your game. That is most decidedly your game right there.